Some people see strong currents and think danger.
But here, it means life.
This current builds the reef.
It feeds everything.
And it creates the diversity we come here to see.
But here's the part most people don't realize. The same current that fuels this reef can also make 10 Mile Point one of the most challenging dives in Victoria.
Oh my God! You're with the shark! What?
Hey adventurers, and welcome back to BC Adventures. I'm Ryan Swan, and today we're at 10 Mile Point, diving with the lovely Summer McClellan.
Hi.
And Mara Bohm.
Hi.
And we're going to be exploring all around this wonderful scuba diving site and seeing interesting sea life that 10 Mile Point has to offer. We're dropping into one of the fastest, most alive reefs in Victoria, where current shapes everything. The life we find, the visibility we fight through, and even the surprises waiting on the bottom. And we'll even help clean up some of the fishing gear that's left behind. So let's get into it. This dive is going to be a wild one.
No one knows the tides like Ryan knows the tides.
It's true. It's very impressive.
Yeah, well, actually, I think a lot of people have this recipe figured out, and it's usually what the locals do. And what I've learned from the locals is you go 15 minutes before slack tide at Race Passage. So you want to wait for like a small exchange and go 15 minutes before. So slack at Race Passage today is 8:30. So slack here would be 8:15. I like to go in a little bit earlier. I like to kind of come in, say 8 o'clock or maybe just before, because then we can catch the ebb. And if there's a little bit of current, it will help us drift out. And then as slack changes underwater, we get the flood and we can come in a little bit. It's very important that you time the site properly. There's a lot of power here. There's a back eddy in here. And actually, if you look right out there, there's a whirlpool out there right now. So we have to wait. We couldn't go in right now or we would be sucked into that vortex and it would not be, well, it might be fun, but
Or no, yeah.
you might also pop up. It's really important that when you're scuba diving here, that you respect the currents and you respect the timing and dive safely. So when you dive here, like, what are some of the creatures that you'd like to see?
Yeah, honestly, some of my favorite parts of this dive is that the whole wall is almost covered in sponges. So you can't see the purple and the yellow sponges everywhere in Victoria, and because it's such a high current area, they're able to feed off all the life that's zooming by usually, right? So it just makes the wall so colorful and beautiful. So, I mean, they're not super charismatic or anything, but it's pretty unique to this site, which is really cool.
Nice, nice. And Summer, like when you came here, like what was something that you remembered about diving here at 10 Mile Point?
I think honestly with the moving current, the visibility here is always pretty good in comparison to the other places that we have around here. I also think the underwater topography with the wall is really enjoyable. And you can tell obviously with the fishermen in the back that it's a huge fishing destination. So you can typically find some fishing line and some lures, which obviously shows the different uses that people have here. And sometimes you can get a lure and give it to your friend who fishes and they really like that. And then if you collect some line, you can feel good about yourself at the end of the day because you took it out of the ocean. So
That's right. It's not just a popular dive site, it's also a popular fishing spot. So it's important to be aware of all the fishing lines and ghost fishing lines and all the fishing lures that are down there. A lot of times divers come here and they just pick them up, throw them in, they have a little container and they have like a whole bunch of treasure at the end of the dive. So we'll see how many lures we can catch when we go down there today.
The tide tables tell the story, and the currents write the ending. And down here, timing is everything. Once we step in, the ocean sets the pace. From this point on, we move when the ocean moves. As we drop beneath the surface, the current greets us first. Not with force, but with guiding touch. Gentle at the start, almost inviting. But when the tide shifts, that guidance becomes something stronger. The flow builds, the water accelerates, and suddenly, we're no longer swimming. We're being carried through the reef, powered entirely by motion. The current grows stronger, pulling us forward, but the water grows darker as we accelerate, as if the reef is slipping behind a curtain of haze. The faster we move, the less we can see. It's like rushing into fog, only underwater. When the reef is feeding, the visibility fades. Strong currents brings nutrients. Nutrients fuel plankton, and plankton fill the water like dust in a sunbeam. Last time Summer dove this, the reef was resting, but today it was wide awake. The visibility is the first thing to go. But a dive like this doesn't stop, and neither do we. And then we see something that doesn't belong here. Fishing gear everywhere. Lines snagged on the rocks, lures wrapped in kelp, hooks buried in the reef. Shore anglers jig from above, and when the lines get caught, they snap, leaving everything behind. And that's when I realized I'd have to come back. As we rise through the kelp, the world softens. Fish shelter in the fronds, crabs climb the stalks, and the reef exhales. To thrive in a place like this, life has to embrace the motion. And so do we. Found a crab.
There was a crab, and it was like attached, like its claw and its face was all lined up in fishing line, and the fishing line was attached to a rock, so it was like stuck in place.
No way.
We tried forever to get the fishing line off of the actual crab, but we could only really get it like free, so it's still wrapped on its head, but now we can at least move. And then we got this nice cannonball here that really affected my buoyancy down there, but that's okay.
That is quite the haul, Summer.
And then there were so many more lures, and you can't save them all, but I got some, so.
Yeah.
Win is a win. This is so heavy.
I had a fishing line get tangled on my camera.
Oh, yeah.
And it was in the kelp, so I was kind of sifting through the kelp a little bit, and then there's fishing line in there, and then it got wrapped around one of my my camera wing nuts. So I just pulled out my Z knife and just Zorro.
I stole it from Quinn because I have a line cutter in my pocket's a little less accessible. Then I just went to Quinn's arm and I went.
Yeah. Okay, so we're back at 10 Mile Point, and this time I'm going to be looking for a bunch of different fishing lures and fishing lines underneath the water. The last few dives we did here, we did see a lot of those, especially with that large cannonball that Summer pulled up. So I'm hoping to do a bit of cleanup today, and yeah, we'll see what's down there. On our last dive here, we found fishing line and lures all over the reef. So today, I'm doing a ghost gear cleanup dive. Let's see how much gear I can pull out of here. I start spotting fishing line everywhere, wrapped around sea palm, woven deep into the kelp, even threaded through some of the sponges like someone stitched it into the reef. This stuff doesn't just sit here, the current pushes it deeper, twisting it tighter, and turning it into a trap that nothing can avoid. A little deeper, I find a thick coil of fishing line, the kind that doesn't break easily. I take my time cutting it free, because this isn't just bad for the environment, it's a hazard for divers too. Rusty hooks, invisible monofilament, and low visibility. One wrong move and you're tangled in something you never saw coming. And then there are the lures. So many lures, bright ones, faded ones, brand new ones, and ones covered in algae. Some hanging in the kelp like ornaments, others wedged between rocks, and a few sitting right on the sand, hooks still sharp, waiting for anything that brushes past. Every couple of kicks, another one appears. I scoop each one into the bag, and it feels like I'm collecting little pieces of a story of broken lines, snapped rigs, and gear left behind currents stronger than expected. I work slowly, checking every pocket of kelp, and before long, the bag is full. One diver, one pass, and the amount of gear is honestly shocking. And the part that really hits me, I've only covered a small stretch of this reef. Well, that was pretty awesome. Was able to get quite a few fishing lures, and there was a significant amount of fishing line down there, much more than I remember from the summer, but I guess it's more visible to see that now a lot of the kelp has died off. It didn't matter where I was swimming in between 20 to 40 feet. I didn't get more than maybe 5 or 10 feet before coming into another spider web of ghost fishing line. Cleaning it up, and I was really hoping to get more fishing lures than fishing line, but I felt so bad just leaving the fishing line, so every time I was seeing something tangled in the kelp, I was just snipping it off. There's lots more fishing lures. When I went for the second dive, I was able to pick up, fill my pockets full, but still lots down there. I could come back with probably 20 divers, and we might even just put a little bit of a dent into this. There's a lot of fishing line down here and a lot of lures that need to be cleaned up. And it'd be really good to come back and with a bigger crew and just dedicate a good afternoon to clean all this up, because there is a significant amount of fishing equipment that's been discarded here at this dive site, and 10 Mile Point is one of the more beautiful dive sites that we have in Victoria, and it's very disappointing to see that this is what happens when all of the fishing equipment that gets snagged or caught on a rock or caught or tangled in the kelp, it just gets left by the fishermen. And it's very unfortunate because it is a really beautiful spot. The fishing equipment just isn't bad for the environment, but it's also hazardous for scuba divers too. I mean, when I was coming back up through my safety stop, I saw a couple fishing lures and I went down to go grab them, but when I was coming back up, my tank got tangled on some of the fishing line and I had to cut it free. This happens all the time, and it's one of the biggest hazards for scuba divers in places like this is getting tangled in fishing line. And I was even talking to a couple divers today that said they would love to do some of the cleanup, but they're worried about getting tangled or getting cut by the fishing lures because it is dangerous to clean up. It's really beneficial to the environment, but it's a hazard too. So if you are coming here and wanting to clean up the fishing lines, be very careful with how you do it, and stay safe. That was 10 Mile Point, a dive powered by current, shaped by life, challenged by visibility, and filled with surprises on the bottom. Every creature here survives because the ocean never stops moving, and every diver who comes here learns to move with it. If you want to learn more about ecosystems shaped by strong currents, check out my Telegraph Cove episode. The same water that flows through 10 Mile Point connects us to the forests and walls up north too.
And we'll see you next time on
BC Adventures!